I am your future students, I am your past students, and I am your current students. I want to talk about something really scary. And a lot of the questions that I get is, what is it like to go to college with a learning disability? Does my IEP transfer to college? Do accommodations follow with college, right? And what is the answer? It depends on what college you go to. There are specific colleges that have proper programs in place and accommodations in the college itself, and maybe there's a different area of where they handle those accommodations, right? Just to give you my experience, right? I haven't been to any colleges, I've only been to one, right? And that's it. I was accepted to one college, I was denied from 15, but I got accepted to one, and it was Centenary University. And I'm not a spokesperson for Centenary, I'm just sharing you my experience at Centenary and the Step Ahead program and the Project ABLE, the Disability Service Center, changed my entire life. And I owe a lot of my success to that program. And I owe probably 95% of it to that program. But I want to share with you how that transition was made, how my experience at that particular situation in that school, and why it was so important for me to follow through with that school because of the way they had their accommodations set up, the type of accommodations I did use, and how their classrooms were structured, right? Because some schools are bigger than others. This is a smaller school, a smaller class setting. It was more of a personal connection with the teachers, right? It helped me a lot. So, before I can even go to college, right, we have to apply. So I knew nothing at this point, and I'm just giving you what it's like to start applying for colleges, right? So for me, I had a 1.7 GPA. I didn't even know how to apply to college. I slowly had to figure it out. My parents were pushing me, right? I did a lot of my applications with my guidance counselor, right? Everybody was helping me, but I never really helped myself. But they were pushing me to help myself, but they really kind of were doing a lot of things for me to help me apply to college. And so when you apply to college, you have to fill out an application. Sometimes you have to send in an essay, recommendation letters, all these things, right? I had none of that. So I'm applying to colleges, right? And finally my guidance counselor looks at me and says, listen, Jordan, there's a college. It's called Centenary. I know at this point it's a reach. It's the last shot. Let's give it a shot. Let's apply. So we applied. Finally, we heard back, right? I got into Centenary. I don't know if I, was ready to go to college right at this point. I knew I wanted to be accepted, right? I wanted to feel accepted. I wanted to go tell all my friends, hey, I'm a college student, but I wasn't really ready to go to college, right? I wasn't there mentally yet, and I was terrified. Just like some of you might be, maybe some of you parents might be, right? We're terrified. We're worried about our kids' success. Worried about, maybe you're a student, you're worried about your success. You're worried what the workload's going to be like. Are you going to be able to do it? Are you going to be able to concentrate? Is there going to be someone to go to, right? All these things, right? I felt the same way. Can I handle being in the classroom with everybody else? I'm so used to being separated. I'm so used to being in the resource room. I'm so used to taking my test in different settings. I'm so used to being singled out, right? And being taken care of in a certain setting, and now I'm in this college setting. Everybody's a student, everybody's a good student, right? Everybody knows what's going on, right? All these things. I remember when I went to college, everyone was older, looked older than me. I was terrified. But let me share with you my experience. So I got into the Step Ahead program, right? And when I got to the program, this was a huge foundation before I even got to college. And the way this program was set up was that you go there in the summer, prior to your freshman year, right? And when you go there in the summer, they basically treat it like a cram course in a way, right? But it's a really structured college courses in a row, right? They're all different classes in a row. There's a few main courses. There's this on-course book, which is awesome. There's a math class and an English class. And I think that was it, right? And then, math class, English class, and then we had locked in study hall, right? We would go to study hall after all our work was done. And the cool thing was, when we went to study hall, all the tutors that were in the school would be at the study hall at one table. So as you were doing your homework, if you ever got stuck on any type of project or anything you were working on, right, your tutors were there, right there, ready to go, right? You would be able to get a tutor. So it was awesome, right? But the cool thing was with this program is it structured your day out. It told you what time you had to wake up in the morning, what time you had to go to breakfast, what time you had to go to class, right? What time you had to go to your tutor, what time you had to go to your learning specialist, right? To talk things out. When you got anxiety, here was your learning specialist. Let's talk it out. We had this program called Bridges, and we would all get in this room and we'd talk about things, right? We do icebreakers. We get to know each other, confidence building conversations, all these really cool things. We're building my foundation of success, which was changing the way I kind of felt about myself. I never had this type of feeling. And then when I did this program, the first time in my life, I was 18 years old, I did an assignment on my own. and I handed it in. And for the first time in my life at this program, I got a report card back. And I remember being in this program, and I got my grade back after studying really hard for this assignment, handing it in, working on it with my tutors, and I got this grade back. It was my first college grade ever I got back, right? I remember looking at it, and my heart just dropped, right? My stomach filled up with butterflies, and I said, I can do this. It was like my whole life, I thought I could never do this. My whole life, I thought I could never get through school. I could never do school. And I can do this. And I did it because I used the proper programs in place, right? But it takes a village, and you have to remember that, right? It's not just, oh, there's programs in place, there's tutors, there's test readers, there's note taker, there's all these things, these accommodations for you, and it's just gonna work out for you. That's not the case, right? The tutors, the accommodations, all those proper programs in place are right here, and you have to meet them in the middle. You have to put the work in too, right? Your work ethic is super important. You have to work with each other, right? And you have to work really, really hard, and it's gonna get overwhelming, right? You're gonna get nervous, you're gonna have that anxiety, you're gonna feel like you're in this huge world and you're lost, right? But you have to come back down to earth, take a deep breath, and you gotta believe in yourself. You gotta use these accommodations, you gotta talk to your counselor, right? Whoever you're talking with, and you gotta keep pushing and never give up. You have to keep telling yourself that, and that's what that program kind of teaches you. When you're in that program, before you go to college, you're taught to get pushed to the limit. They cram you. They give you a lot of work. They overload your brain, right, with a lot of work, kind of like how college is going to be, with a structure in place. So you're kind of like getting through it, going through it, getting nervous, getting built back up. Getting through it, going through it, getting nervous, getting built back up, and you're getting through it. And that's how that confidence is building. And it's a really cool program because it starts building your confidence. But not everybody in the program, right, builds this type of confidence. You have to be the worker in the program too. You got to be the hardest worker in that program. And I took my mind to that place after I got that grade back. And I always say, listen, I was born in 1989, but I didn't come to life until that summer in 2008. And it changed my whole life and my whole perspective on who I was at that point. And at that point, I knew I sold myself short. And that's what that program really did for me. So now, what happens after the program, right? After the program, now you're a regular college student, but what's the difference? Now you have this foundation, right, that you got used to, you got acclimated to the college setting, right, the dorm rooms, the workload, right, the overwhelming amount of the work on a syllabus, right, the anxiety, all that, you kind of got hit with that already. So starting in August, right, you weren't so nervous, right, you still were nervous because the rest of the students were coming in. It wasn't just you and some of the other students. Now it's a full college, right, and nobody knows anybody. But what did this college have? And I'm giving you my personal experience from where I went, right? So this college had Project Able. So I already had this foundation that I went through, this structure that I went to. So that was already programmed in my brain. I said to myself, listen, Jordan, you're going to follow that program from now, freshman year to senior year. So that's exactly what I did. So I would go to class. I would go to my tutor. Then I would go to lunch. Then I would go to class. Then I would go to my tutor. Then I would go to dinner, right? And then I would go to my tutor. And then when we had study hall, I would go to the library by myself. When nobody was there with me, there weren't tutors there this time, but I would go to the library and I would study. Like I was in study hall, right? Like I had this structure built in my brain and I had to follow it no matter what. Even though there wasn't someone behind me saying, hey Jordan, you gotta wake up. Hey Jordan, you gotta go to your tutor. There wasn't anyone doing that. I was telling myself that, right? I had to be accountable for my actions, even though nobody was waking me up anymore. Nobody was guiding me to my tutors. Nobody was guiding me to the office and, hey Jordan, you know, you have a note taker available. Utilize that note taker. No, I had to go find that note taker. I had to let them know that I wanted to use it for this specific class, right? And that's how you have to get things done. You have to be this advocate for yourself, but you got to take responsibility for yourself. And this college, the seminary where I was at, was really good about that, right? They had all these programs in place, and the really cool thing about it was everyone with Project Able, right, was super supportive. So they were constantly building you up. They never let you fall, even though you got nervous, right? Even though the workload got you nervous and you thought you couldn't do it. They never let you feel like you couldn't. They would say, Jordan, take a deep breath. We're going to get the tutor for you, right? Let's pick some classes. Let's get this under control. Let's see what you're overwhelmed with. Let's write it all out, right? And they were so supportive. And I owe a lot of this. I owe so much of where I'm at today because of this. Because this was like the beginning, the foundation of what I always needed. And the cool thing about this, there's not too many people in life, right, that you meet that really care about your success and your future. right? There's not. But these people at this college cared so much about all the students that you felt it. It was like a family. And you just were able to use everything around you. There was always somewhere to go, right? If you were nervous, there was someone to talk to. If you needed help on a math test, there's someone to talk to. If you had a really hard statistic formula, right? I had this class called statistics. I had to memorize this formula. It was one huge formula. That was the test. And I remember I found a tutor specifically that knew this formula. And we sat down and we worked on this formula for weeks. And I remember I went to the tutor, I asked her, I emailed her, I said, hey, listen, do you think we can meet before my test? And she changed her schedule up for me and met with me before my test, right? Before my test. And we worked on this formula. And I went in and I took the test and I passed. I passed that test because that tutor and myself, right, I was willing to work for it, but that tutor was willing to change her schedule and meet with me because she cared, right? And that's how every teacher was. That's how every tutor was. That's how everyone at Project Able was. That's how everyone at the StepEd program was. And I'm still close with all of them today because they literally changed my life. And that was my experience to college with a learning disability. Now, other colleges might have these same accommodations, these same types of people, right? But you gotta find it, right? You gotta find the colleges, and this is my recommendation. Find a college that is small, right? A smaller college. Not a huge college where it's an auditorium, right? And no one knows who you are and you're just a number. A smaller college where you can build a relationship with the teachers. You can build a relationship with the tutors, with the accommodations they have in place. You get to know the college campus, right? Everything is within arm's reach, right? You want to be in a school like that. And you want to make sure you have a learning specialist or a therapist or a social worker, somebody to talk to throughout college. There's a lot of things that go on in college, socially, academically, right? You're growing a lot. And it's really good to get a lot of things off your chest. And when you're in this college, right, wherever you choose to go, right, if you look around, look for colleges that have strong group of people and support around this program. You want to look for that, and you'll feel that when you meet them. And when I was at college, right, and I started to realize that, you know what, it's about the programs, it's about the people around me, it's about the mindset, it's about the work ethic. At that point, that's when I knew whatever was next, whatever it was, I just take all those things and I combine them into who I am, and it's gonna get done moving forward. And this college experience really changed my life. So I want every single one of you to know, teachers, parents, right, don't be scared. Students, don't be nervous, right? Your accommodations, your IEP, right? All these things you might be worried about, the anxiety. You can go to a 4-year college. You can 100% go to a college. The programs are in place for you, right? You just have to be ready to work. You got to be committed to work. You got to be committed to believing in yourself. You got to be committed. And you know what? When I sign up to this 4-year school, when they accept me, I'm also going to accept them. And I'm not going to stop, and I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to get through it. I'm going to graduate. And when I was at college, I heard about Delta Alpha Pi. It's a National Honor Society for students with learning disabilities that graduate college with a 3.0 or higher. And I remember it was my freshman year, and I was never a part of any National Honor Societies ever in my life. And I remember I said, you know what, Jordan, I'm going to make a promise to myself. I looked at myself, I said, Jordan, you're going to make a promise to yourself. You're going to graduate with those cords around your neck. You're going to graduate with a National Honor Society, Delta Alpha Pi. And I did. I graduated that college, Centenary University, with a 3.3 GPA, and I had those cords around my neck, and to this day it's one of the biggest accomplishments I've ever done in my entire life. And it's really cool because a couple of years ago I was actually the speaker inducting new students into that program, and it's really amazing, right, to look back on my life, and I never could imagine myself graduating with those cords, you know, with pinning somebody, saying, hey, congrats, you know, you're part of Delta Alpha Pi, I know how hard it was, I know the work you put in, you know, I know where you're at, I know the work you're doing, and I'm so proud of you, right? And it was such a huge accomplishment for me, just like all these other students. I saw the smile on their face, and I know when hard work pays off, and that's what Centenary did for me. Centenary changed my life, from the StepEd program to 4 years of college with all the accommodations till right now, 31, right? I'll never forget it. And still, every single year since I left, I've been back there. Since 2012 when I graduated, and I started that program in 2008. Since 2012, I've been back there to speak to all the incoming students to the StepEd program, the program that changed my life. And I know for a fact, if you're a student right now, and you feel like you can't go to college, or you're a parent, you're nervous about your son or daughter going to college because of the way they learn in school and because they struggle a little bit in school, I want to ease your mind. I want to ease your mind. They will do it. I promise you they will do it. They will get through it. There is nothing they can't do when they start to believe in themselves. The only thing I ask you is, if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, start believing in your students. Start letting your kids know you believe in them. That will spark their own belief. And when it sparks their own belief, that's when they'll start to write their own story. And when they start writing their own story, they'll start believing in themselves, and their confidence will start to grow. And at that point, they will be unstoppable.